Hello, this is a Defacto review for this week. With me, Jarkal Saihan. This review is about analysis of the three major events happened last week in Mongolia. Tonight we share with you three topics: revival of border ports, green development reality, politics around non-performing loan scandal of Development Bank of Mongolia. First topic, new ports and challenges. Ahead of a Mongolian Economic Forum 2022 to be held next week in Ulaanbaatar, discussions are taking place on six main topics for the new revival policy. On March 28, discussions on the topic revival of border ports is being organized at the Mongolian Customs General Administration. The discussions by the cabinet members, parliament members, representative of international development agencies, namely ADB and World Bank, and other related government agencies was focusing on the topics: development and modernization of border ports, free economic zone and land port development policy, border checking point infrastructure, connecting border ports through infrastructure and improving efficiency of transport corridors, and lastly, reform policy in civil aviation sector. Those topics were covered at this discussions, and at the forum, pre-forum, the finance minister, Jakhlan, said that there are 44 projects already specified worth of 26 trillion MNT investment. And the government will not fund those projects, but they will not compete also, but they will create inducive, favorable conditions for private sector to take over these projects. Sounds good, but there are some challenges. Where this 26 trillion MNT estimation is coming from? Are these feasibility studies publicly available? Are the current macroeconomic conditions and foreign direct investment environment in Mongolia supporting them? Today, nowadays in particular, the country faces inflation and devaluation of our currency. Second challenge, there will be 4 borders, ports, and highway constructions. Which one will be the first made and which one will be given as private-public partnership? Third challenge will be about permission. Permissions for these constructions to be long and not change it when the government is changed it. And there are still some hurdles in Mongolia to have all permissions in this regard, in the construction permits. According to one of the director of free economic zones, this export and import transaction will cost, for example, in Switzerland, $220 and can take only a few hours. But in Mongolia, it costs $110 and it takes 100 hours. So there is a need of digitalization of this whole process. Now, the Transit Mongolia concept, port issues. There is suggestions to create land port, otherwise also called dry port, in deep on the territory of Mongolia. Why? Because with ocean bid of laden document, any goods coming from any port internationally all the way can come to that land port, which Mongolian government is going to make nearby Ulaanbaatar or Zamingut. They are discussing about the locations. Otherwise, all cargo to Mongolia comes ocean bid of laden, and in Tianjin they go through customs of China, and it goes again in Mongolia through the customs, etc. If Mongolia create land port or dry port inside of the country, then it will be combined bill of lading. The cargo comes to that port and go through customs only here in Mongolia, which is a substantial economy of time and other resources. But the most important challenge here is no clear concept of how much and how deep private companies can participate in these projects. Usually, free economic zones, ports are run by private companies or their consortium or joint venture, which is profit-looking. The government, in any way, cannot run efficiently this kind of port and free economic zones. And then in this consortium, some investment, large funds can participate as this kind of free economic zones are usually a good investment. So these are my remark on the first issue. Second issue is the green development reality. Another pre-forum, one of the 6, was held on March 29, the Green Development Revival. That's the name of this discussions. It turned out, except 2 IMACs, Hinti and Hupsugu, from 50 to 95% of other 19 IMACs, land had degraded. Overgrazing is one of the main reasons for land degradation in Mongolia. Pasture land in the vicinity of water bodies, settlements, lakes, and along livestock driving roads has severely degraded in Mongolia. Sand formation and sand shifting are becoming one of main factors, indicators of this overgrazing and desertification in Mongolia. Mongolia by 2030 committed to decrease carbon oxide volume by 27%. It will cost approximately some 11 billion euro. That's why Mongolia needs to develop the green bond market. To sell bonds to the developed world, it means. Because the developed world is planning to make some loan for $500 billion by 2030. In Mongolia is to take a certain place there. Also, Mongolia will achieve that by planting 1 billion trees by this 2030, which was promised by the president from the UN podium last year. We also need to increase renewable energy production. By today, Mongolian banks have been issuing green loans from 2013, but the total amount have reached only 20 billion MNT, or only 1.5% of total loan portfolio of Mongolian commercial banks by the date. So it must reach 10% for banks and 5% for non-bank financial institutions. That's basically how the discussions at the forum highlighted the aim to reach that aim. What kind of challenges are here? Today, Mongolia, 90% of electricity is produced by coal, only 10% renewable energy sources. Mongolia is planning, and it has to make 1 or 2 large coal-based power plants at the same time. One of them is in Tavan Tolgay, which will supply energy to Oyu Tolgay, the largest 2 projects related locations. Mongolia needs more power than currently it can produce, because Mongolian consumption grows by 8%, but production grows only by 6% per annum. In Mongolia, the price for electricity subsidized, thus creating a little incentive and capacity for growing production capacity. This year, the electricity prices will be increased at least by 30%. Those are challenges in this green development policy. Our last review is about politics around non-performing loan scandal of Development Bank of Mongolia. As you know, as we have been highlighting before, in January 2022, Mongol Bank announced that 1.8 trillion MNT, or 57% of total assets of Development Bank Mongolia, are non-performing loans. Since then, the hunt for guilty started in Mongolia, as the bank will pay almost $1 billion USD bond next year. The parliament made investigation for DBM performance in 2016, 5 years ago. But unfortunately, the investigation report was stamped as confidential, as many documents recently being handled in this way in Mongolia. That report revealed recently upon the demand by the parliamentary working group. Then it opens a lot new pages for Mongolia. Now the public knows who and how got loans under the politically connected pressure. 20 borrowers were misusing total 508 billion MNT out of this total non-performing loans, which is 1.8 trillion, almost one-third. Since January, 136 billion MNT have been repaid, almost also about 10% of the bad loan, a non-performing loan, which is good news. And even 5 loans were completely paid, fully paid, also good news. The ruling party, Mongolian People's Party, had issued a resolution, I believe it's a historic resolution, instructing nine current lawmakers who got loans from the DBM to voluntarily request an investigation into their crimes by the law enforcement agencies before April 10. Otherwise, they will be suspended from the party. If convicted, he or she will be expelled from the party, as the party rule says. It's quite drastic resolution. There was an audit hearing, almost public, on March 29. There were total 22 former and current MPs and senior officials of government have been receiving that low rate loan from Development Bank of Mongolia, which shows how politically are connected these loans of this Development Bank. So what are the implications? How serious is the Mongolian People's Party decisions? And will it be really implemented? That's first question you're raising. Second observations is it will be substantial step toward combating corruption in Mongolia, and will make closer the Prime Minister Oyun Yildirim aim to improve Mongolian position in the World Corruption Perception Index report this year. So let's wait and see. This concludes this review for this week. Thank you very much for watching, and see you next week.